super excited. Special guest today, Raymond Carrito, aka the Online Coach. He's been a huge inspiration to my life and my health and fitness. So I'm stoked today to have you on and have a conversation.
Thanks for having me, man.
Of course.
It's been a while.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you how I got here, but I accidentally booked my flight for next weekend instead of this weekend. The only flight available was a semi-private flight. So I booked private on the way here. Flight was an hour delayed. I had to change at the airport, shower and change, get here.
Oh my.
So I had to share that with you because it was a journey to get here, but I'm excited to see you.
That would happen for me.
Yeah, it would. Cool, man. Well, so talk to me about fitness. So you've been in the fitness industry for as long as I've known you, 10 plus years. You've grown a huge presence online and with your coaching program. Talk me through that, how you got started in.
Oh, I started back in 2009. I was selling insurance, working with my dad. He owned a farmer's insurance agency. So I was at a desk all day, in front of the computer. And, I was doing stuff on the side. I actually started prepping for my first bodybuilding show. And I was posting on this social media platform. You probably don't remember it, but Body Space. It was bodybuilding.com's like MySpace for like meatheads, bodybuilders. Mm-hmm. So I was posting progress pics on there, like workout clips, stuff like that. And my meals, all that, just sharing everything that I was doing, like my journey. And I started getting friends on there and they're asking me questions like they're younger kids, like, oh, what are you doing for this? What are you doing for that? Nutrition wise, training wise. And I just shared everything that I was doing. And I just started growing on there. So I started helping out like random guys that were just like in need for like meal plans and stuff like that. So they started, it started growing from there. Like people were like, hey, how much do you charge? And I'm like, I don't charge anything in my head. But so I had to start to like charge because it was taking a lot of time. So I started charging like nothing and it just started growing from there. And then it got to the point where I think I made like 60 grand in like 4 months. I was taking
coaching on that.
Yeah.
Platform.
And it was like, to me, it was just side money. So I was just taking it, buying shoes, buying just stuff, just random shit that I shouldn't have been buying. And, I looked at it. No, PayPal reported me to the IRS. So I had to claim it. It was like, I saw the number. I was like, holy shit, this is more than I made with doing insurance. Mm-hmm. So a couple months after that, I was like, I'm going to take this on full time. And I never looked back.
What year was this? From when you started posting to when you said, I'm going to go full time?
I think it was like 2010. Oh, wow. 2010. So what? Yeah. Like 13 years going on, 14 being self-employed.
That's crazy. And then, so in 2013, when did Instagram start? Was it
2010, I think.
So did you go on social like right after that?
Yeah, Instagram
during that time period?
Instagram rolled out and I was on Facebook and that Body Space. And then my little brother Ryan was like, hey, there's a new social media platform, Instagram. I'm like, I don't need any more social media platforms. And I ended up doing it and I had to come up with a name for my page. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I all about right now? And it was online coaching. Mm-hmm. At that time, online coaching was it was new. Not many people were doing it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to put the in front of online coach. So I was the online coach. And you know how hard it is to get a handle like that these days.
Right.
You would have to be the online coach, like 69, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9
underscore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started doing that and started posting on there. And then it just really started growing from there. At that time, fitness on Instagram wasn't very big. It was, it was very new.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me looking back, you were there was very like a handful of people back in the day that I could remember when like I started following you back in, I don't know, 2013, 2014. And then we finally met in 2015.
Yeah.
When you ended up being my coach and we just became friends after that.
Yeah.
But there was very, very few people in your space like back then that were original like OGs that started posting on Instagram and the YouTube space.
Yeah.
Within that stuff. But now it's evolved and changed rapidly.
It's very, very saturated. Everybody's an online coach now.
So what do you think of it nowadays? Like the difference between when you got started in it and what it looks like now?
I think, like I said, it's oversaturated, and I think it's lost its value when it comes to like just the title of being like a coach or a trainer. Like it used to be a lot harder to be a personal trainer back in the day. Like you would have to spend $500, $600 on a nationally accredited certification just to have like a title, right? Here, now kids are competing and they're getting on stage competing and placing like 5th or 6th and then calling themselves an online coach. They'll go back to Instagram and say that they're an online coach, and then they're offering, programs and coaching for like nothing. So the value has decreased.
Right. For sure. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, and obviously too, I think these days too, drugs have become more popular when it comes to that space. The younger kids that you see that are 18, 19 years old who are on gear now.
Yeah.
Is pretty insane.
Yeah. It's so easy. It's so accessible now for the drugs. When I first started, that was like big deal.
But it was hidden back then.
It was a big deal.
It was a secret. Like no one wanted to talk about it. Now people are more and more open about it.
Yeah. And you can get it online. You can like discount code.
Well, I mean, I've been on TRT for like the last 4 years, but like that's different. I don't feel like I can consider myself like on steroids.
Yeah.
But I go to a doctor. Like there's a clinic that you go to, but my, what is it called? Nanograms. Was it my test levels?
Yeah.
Nanograms deciliter, whatever it's called. It was like 275 when I got tested. Like that is extremely low for a 34. Well, at the time I was 30-year-old male being that low, 0 sex drive and all that stuff. So I do see benefits in that aspect of it.
Yeah. That's
like the younger kids that are doing competitions that are taking all this shit. Like it's just crazy to me. And especially when I've seen it at the gym.
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad. And that's why, that's how I've made a name for myself, is just staying lifetime natural. My whole goal on social media, my content is just to show these kids that you can accomplish a lot physically. You can have a respectable physique naturally. Like I've been at this for a long time. I started when I was 15. I'll be 40 this year. Most people don't know how old I am because, I take care of myself. I think health is health is wealth. Wealth is health.
Filipino.
Like, yeah. Yeah, that helps too. Yeah. But I really think that I feel as good as I do and I look as good as I do now is because that's the one thing that I stuck to throughout the years. Been through a ton of cars.
Sure.
Ton of cars, girls, everything that it came and go.
Right.
Like, and the fitness is one thing that I just like was obsessed about, and it just became my lifestyle.
For sure.
It was a habit that like I just kept, and I've been blessed enough to have it become my business, my career,
right?
What pays the bills. And like people, I get compliments all the time when I just in public. They're like, "You look great, man." I'm like, "Thank you. I better." It's my job,
right?
Like it literally is my job.
You don't want to be like a fat person.
Yeah, it's my business career,
right? I think the biggest thing that I like with you that I respect a lot is that you can actually like go through a consistent bulk, right? Like so as a kid, I was called fat when I was younger for the longest time. So I've always had body dysmorphia, even now to this day. Like if I don't see my abs, or if I don't feel a certain way, like I'll complain to the fiance at home, and I'll tell her like, "Oh, I need to go on an 8-week cut for what?" And she's like, "For what? Like you look just fine. Like we're normal. Let's go to dinner. Let's have our wine. Let's enjoy ourselves." But because of those experiences when I was younger, and as you know, like when you first started coaching me, I was skinny fat, right? And I wasn't necessarily overweight, but for me, I felt fat because of the way that I was treated when I was younger. And I think that has a big part of what happens too now is like, especially people who are posting on Instagram, right? These kids aren't going to be able to go on a bulk that are trying to be these influencers because of that reason, because you went through it. You went through that lull, right? When you went on a bulk, like there was a time where you weren't getting engagement and all that stuff because you were bulking and you weren't shredded. And it's a weird thing to go through. And I'm just a normal guy going through that at home in the mirror.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Dysmorphia, body dysmorphia is real.
It is.
It's, we all go through it at a different level. With me, it's a whole different level, right? Like it's my content. And like you said, you've been there when I was going through bulks and cuts, and you saw the difference between like the engagement and likes on my page when I was shredded, and it really changes. And when you're bulking, I guess I was okay with it because I knew what I was doing. I understood the process. I knew what it took. Since I've been doing this naturally since I first started, I knew what it took to put on muscle naturally. It takes It takes time, it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes being in a nice surplus. I was never afraid to get fat, fluffy, because I knew I was stronger when I was 20 pounds heavier. I was moving more weight. I was getting a lot of work done. My libido, my sex drive was higher. I felt normal. There was no cloudiness. There was a lot of aspects that I enjoyed and I capitalized on, right? But there was a part of me, you know, I would be lying if I didn't say that I didn't have body dysmorphia to a degree. Like, I would get fluffy to the point where I jumped out of the shower. I'm like, holy shit, I got to put my towel on. You know,
Yeah.
It's there. But I understood the process and I knew that I was doing it for a reason.
Right.
And it always paid off, because the next time I cut, I was like, holy shit, I put on some muscle.
For sure.
I was fat and
Right.
I didn't like how I looked like, but it's what it takes when you do it naturally.
Right. But with you, it's your job. Like with someone that's normal like me, when I'm thinking like, oh, I need to go through a bulk. My last cut that I just did, at the end, in certain pictures and stuff, I was like, man, I don't like the way I look, but I'm 10 pounds lighter. Like I go to the gym every day. I'm still like, I go multiple times a day most of the time because I'm doing cardio in the morning and then I'm going back to lift. But I was just never in a constant surplus of like taking a bulk really seriously because of my insecurities when I was younger.
Yeah.
But
you look at now, I've been checking out your content. I'm like, he's staying lean and you're staying like a healthy lean. You're not like digging to the point where you're like super depleted.
No.
And yeah.
I've stayed it this way. Last year when I did like an 8-week cut and I got from like 167 to like my lowest was like 160. And then right now I like hover right around 162, which I don't think is bad. Like I feel like it's really healthy, like in good lighting. I can still see my like abs and stuff, which is totally fine. But then if I want to go on vacation or go to Cabo in 2 months, it's like I can literally diet for like 4 weeks and I'm good.
Yeah.
And I feel good. But yeah, it's just interesting because the steroids and body dysmorphia, I think, are going to correlate a lot nowadays, and especially with the younger generation.
It's just crazy because I had my chance to get on drugs and I was competing. Like I was close. I did really well naturally against guys that were on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that I owe that to me just staying consistent for the years. Like I was forever bulking. Like you're talking about, I'm not afraid to bulk.
Right.
My first show, I was forever bulking for 10 years before I even thought about cutting for a show.
Right.
Cutting in general. So I put on the muscle that way,
right?
Not being afraid to get fluffy,
for sure.
Lifting hard, lifting heavy on, it's consistent. And it takes that much time naturally. And these kids, they go on social media. Social media is, I don't know, it can make or break you. But as a kid, you go on there and you see guys like me and you don't know anything about me. You know, you just look at a physique and you're like, oh, he's aesthetic, he has muscle, he's strong. Like they don't know how old I am, they don't know how long I've been training, and that leads to them just kind of like
you're hating comments.
Yeah. All the trolling and stuff like that. Yeah. But it leads to them wanting it that instant gratification.
Right.
Like you're not gonna build a physique in a year.
Right.
Even on drugs. And the thing is even if you got on steroids, you got on all the gear, and you were a new lifter, you would not make any gains. You would probably get stronger, but you don't know you don't know anything about nutrition,
right?
Your training, your recovery.
For sure.
You have no experience, and even on the drugs, it doesn't come overnight.
Yeah.
It's not a magic
for sure
shortcut.
Right. I agree. Talk to me about building your brand online. It's taken obviously with your vlogging, your YouTube channel. Your YouTube, I think you have around a few 100,000, right?
I'm still like 110. Like I still have my plaque at home, so
right.
I haven't uploaded in like 2 years,
right?
And it's still over 100,
right? And then your Instagram, you're at 145. Talk to me about like building your brand. Like take me through like after you got through when you initially opened the campus back in the day. How was that progression until now? Like, has there been changes? Like how have you adapted during those times?
When I first started, I was like, this is just my personality since I was a kid, like even through high school. Like I never gave a shit what anybody else was doing. I always stayed in my own lane. Like I was never trying to impress anyone. I was never trying to follow any trends. I was just being me. And that's how I started on social media, was just posting my content. Like I was the content. I was never chasing any likes. I wasn't chasing attention. It was easy for me to grow because I was just being me. So after that, after I opened up the campus, I think that was like my peak, like 2014, 15, when I grew the most. And at that time, I was doing the same thing, just posting me. I didn't care about what everybody else was doing.
Right.
So it came easy. After that, there's a period of time where like just the fitness industry just kind of changed when it came to content. It got very fancy when it came to like editing and like
the workout edits,
filters, and like the content just changed for like a good couple years, where I tried to keep up. I tried to stay relevant with that, and I think that took me in the wrong direction. Like, it was, my followers follow me for a certain reason. It wasn't that. It wasn't the fancy shit. Right? They followed me for just the value that I brought them when it came to like fitness knowledge, nutrition, training. And yeah, it just wasn't me. For like 2 years, I wasn't myself.
Right. It was very raw. Like, your original content was just very raw. And it's still, like, now you've gone back to that in terms of Instagram and stuff, which I do believe that you should go back and try to pursue the YouTube stuff, or do shorts, at least something, because I feel like you're already doing your reels on Instagram. And my shorts, I know my shorts get way more views on YouTube than they do on Instagram that I'm posting with my real estate investing stuff. So I know you would be able to crush it far more than I would with your...
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I need to do it. It's just, I don't know. I burnt myself out.
I was going to say that.
You remember, I think it was a year or two where I was doing, no, it was probably a good year when I was like, I committed to daily vlogs. I did a vlog every damn day, edited, shot it, like everything. It was just me. And it's always been me.
Right.
Right. You know, you remember Tankster in the mix, like
right.
but it was, when it came down, it was just really me doing everything. He was there, you know, for me to kind of like micromanage and like, you know, ask, you know, tell him exactly what I needed him to do to help me. And it was more of me mentoring him.
Right.
And I never really had any help. I was still doing everything on my own.
Right. No, it was exhausting watching you. And I remember even when I was trying to do like the daily vlogs in the fitness, when I started posting my fitness stuff.
Yeah.
It was exhausting for me to do it, and watching you do it and having a big following and then getting feedback afterwards, and, you know, the haters and everything else that came with that. I would get burnt out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be like, fuck you guys. I don't want to post anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, you got to ignore the haters and keep moving forward. But
I posted that Q&A on my story, and there was a couple guys like, I remember Josh, he's the OG. They're like, they remembered you, and it was positive.
How funny.
Like,
I don't even have that Instagram anymore. I deleted it. I think I got up to like 20,000, and then all of a sudden, and then I just deleted it. I don't know if that was dumb of me or not dumb of me, but whatever.
Hey, you started this one, so.
I did. Yeah. So let's get into that. I mean, I know you have been pretty vocal about your like investing journey over the last few years, trying to be financially free. What does that look like? Do you have a goal over the next few years?
Like, I don't have like a numbers goal, but I know I'm headed in the right direction, just by the little bit of financial literacy I've learned the past couple of years. Like,
right.
I wasn't taught it, you know.
I don't think any of us were.
Yeah. But the first book that I read that actually like just really changed everything for me, my mentality, my perspective, was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Right.
I think every kid needs to read that. That needs to be in school, which probably won't happen. But that changed everything for me.
Yeah.
I even messed around and told my dad he was the poor dad. And I was like, have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad? And he said, yes. He was just bullshit. And he proved it to me, because I called him the poor dad, and he was like, he got offended.
That book, I think, changes everyone's life that wants to be financially free with real estate. Like, every person that I've interviewed on this podcast so far, it literally have all brought up Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it's funny, right now I'm doing this like challenge. I'm sure you've seen my screenshots on my Instagram, but your iPhone app allows you to do like reading goals. Okay. So I can select how much time I want to listen. So every day for the last 86 days now, I'm on a record, and I've finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books already this year. But it's one of those things that like you take little golden nuggets. Like, every morning I wake up is the first thing that I do, that I take things from these books that I listen to, because Rich Dad Poor Dad was definitely one of my, like, I think everyone's top when it comes to financial freedom. Yeah. But these other books that you can just take in little things every single time to keep adding them to your arsenal. And it keeps me motivated to where I don't have, like today could have been, you know, with all the changing of the flights and all that stuff, it could have just been like, fuck it, I'm not gonna go to Vegas. I'm not gonna come hang out. Right. But I think because I'm on point every single day because I'm doing the 30 minutes, and I really truly believe that this year I've had one bad day all year, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with me taking my morning routine very serious when it comes to me learning and taking in things. So I don't know. I know we were talking about like staying motivated all the time.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
The audiobooks, I do the audiobooks too. I have a pretty good collection. I've seen the ones that you've been reading. They're good. I think there's a lot of books that people really, really need to just hear, read for sure.
For sure. Last one I read was awful. I don't recommend it. I'll tell you after this, but yeah, it was 12 hours of like mind numbing.
When do you listen to them? Just in the morning getting ready?
First thing I do when I wake up, I have my coffee. So I wake up at my morning routine, wake up at 5:30, have a cup of coffee. I'll lay in bed for a few minutes, but I'll put my headphones in like as I'm laying in bed having my first cup, and then I'll go straight to my computer and start working. So I'll probably listen to most of the time like an hour a day. So that basically I'm able to knock out a book a week because most books are between 5 and 9 hours. But it's really been helpful for me. Really been helpful. I've never had a year where I've never like allowed things to bother me whatsoever, where like my stress levels are extremely low, even when high stress situations. Like I could tell you multiple times this past week where I'm dealing with like 6-figure paydays and I'm not stressed about like any of the things that are going on when they could fall apart. And I've never had that. So I feel like a big part of it, maybe I'm engaged now and growing up and my fiance is like holding me together.
No, I see the growth. We haven't seen each other in how long?
Dude, before you moved, when did you move to Vegas? 2 years ago now? Has it been 2 years?
No, we moved here last June.
So maybe 2 years before that? It's been a long time, dude.
Yeah.
You guys were in Carlsbad a few times, but we never got a chance to link up. I think actually the last time I saw you was when you guys came in town to that Mexican spot. You guys who were you with?
No, I think the last time I saw you was Texas when we did that little trip.
No, dude, that was a long time ago.
Really?
That was a really long time ago.
That was longer?
That was longer ago. Yeah.
Jeez.
That was a long ass time ago. Yeah, it's been a long time. But I think everyone grows up, you know, like I think, dude, when I first met you, I was going through like a huge transition from going from like being a real estate agent to then going into title insurance. Then remember like when I was going through my diet, I ended up getting fired from my job because I was coming to the gym, working out all the time in my brain fog. And then I was like, dude, I can't be dieting anymore because I can't even go to my job and work.
So your test was probably even more shot then. Is that when you got it checked or was it after?
Yes, I did get it checked then. When it was back then, it was like in the 350 range, which is still low. But my doctor, because if you go to your regular doctor, like they're not gonna send you to like a TRT clinic. Like it's really like you're self-prescribing. So I go to a clinic that then diagnosed me with it, that then like share with my doctor. But it's not like it's not covered under my medical insurance or anything like that.
Now there's specialists like that can that you can find online. It's just so common now where they send you to LabCorp, get your blood panel done, and then they get it sent to them, and you never even have to see these.
Same thing. I bet you the one that I use, I bet you they have one here in Vegas because they're like franchised. So I was going to tell you a funny story. When we first connected, sort of funny. So when I said initially that you changed my life, I'm going to tell you how. So when we first connected, I think it was like just after New Year's, and I woke up extremely hungover. I had a really terrible relationship with a girl that I dated in high school. She was like, I lost my virginity to her. Like all through high school we dated. And then after the fact, and I was still hanging out with her like right before that time period. I think I was like 25, 26 back then, 27, something like that.
Yeah.
I woke up, hung over on my couch. I watched one of your YouTube videos, and I think like 2 weeks after that is when I hired you. So I don't know if I ever told you that story to like coach me.
I think so.
But after that point, I literally cut all those people out of my life, which is so crazy to think back because there's always those people who you have in your life where, you know, I consider you a mentor, right? That there's certain people who, like I have a mentor for sure with my real estate investing stuff and like with my corporate job. And I definitely think for fitness, like you were absolutely one of those people who impacted my life in a very positive way. Sorry. Need a beer or shot?
Yeah. What I remember, we're going to need a beer after this.
Yeah.
I remember you hired me, and then you showed up to the campus with
Donuts.
with Krispy Kreme. That's how you won my heart.
Yeah. Well, I think I was driving to Palm Springs that weekend because my dad lives in Palm Desert. So I think I was driving through and I was like, you know what? I'll just stop by. I think I DM'd you or texted you and I told you I'd stop by just to say what's up. And then, and then ever since then, like, I think I came in for a few workouts after that. And then I started coming in consistently.
Yeah. And was there a period of time where you were in between jobs and then we were like together every day?
Yeah, dude. I got fired. And then I got rehired again like 3 months later. And then at that point, it was like, all right, I got to either focus on my fitness career, which was nothing, or actually have a career.
There was actually some growth, though. You know, there was like a good amount of people that follow me, like my long-time supporters that like just knew that you were like one of my best friends and you were always around and followed you. And like I said, like I just posted asking for questions. They're like, oh, I remember Josh.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I don't like back then though. It's so different now with social media. I don't think that I would have ever known how to take like make a business out of that. Like I was just doing it because I was around it, right? Where now it's like what you do is educating. Like if you didn't have a business around that and you were just educating, that's part of your passion, right? Where I think now with my content, with my investing stuff, I'm just doing it. I don't even care about the money because I'm already flipping houses. Like I already do all that. So for me, it wasn't about the money now. It's like, I just want to create because it fuels me instead of like, think about how I can monetize it, which I don't know if that makes sense.
That's what happened to me is like, I had that passion to help and just like put value out there. And it just, I don't know, it ended up to the point where I figured out how to monetize and make money doing it. I guess I helped so many people that they wanted me to charge them, you know, and it just kind of, I don't know. I didn't have much control. It just happened. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's like a gradual progression, right? But you went full time and you had all that stuff going on. Back then with me, for one, fitness is like a massive insecurity with already us talking about body dysmorphia. So for me, I would have never felt good enough to be like a coach or to be some type of like influencer. Like to me, that wasn't my path. Like I didn't feel like that was my path. And I'm grateful that I didn't do that and I went to this direction because everything that's happened up until now, like I'm super grateful for because I think everything happens for a reason. So, but I just didn't know like what direction or what that would look
like. I think you took enough from like just being around me and the whole social media aspect of it. You learned a little bit of what I did and you kind of took that and ran with it and did your own thing, which is what it's all about.
For sure. I mean, I wouldn't have learned how to edit.
You saw the importance of social media.
For sure.
Most people don't get it. You know, people are like, oh, why do you always have a camera? Or why are you always on your phone? Like, because it's my job, you know?
For the last 4 years, though, up until this last November when I was like, all right, the market was shifting. In my head, like for my business, I was like, the market's shifting. I want to do something that I'm not doing, that I'm uncomfortable with, which was natural for me before. Right. I just got out of doing the social stuff. Like for the last 4 years, I don't like my Instagram is private. Like I don't barely post any pictures and it's only like of me and the wifey traveling. Right. Like we're always just going somewhere, traveling somewhere. And I'm only posting pictures whenever we're there. But like this other thing is like, it fuels because I'm giving back. And dude, I get so many text messages. I'm sure you do too. Like so many messages and text messages and like people sharing it and like, thanks for doing that. Because it's people that don't want to do it, that aren't comfortable doing it, but think that they should be sharing it with the people in their circle, which gives me excitement for them to do that.
Yeah.
So super cool.
No, your content's been good. I mean, it's straight to the point and it's a lot of stuff that people need to learn and know.
Yeah, for sure. Yours is great too. You want to do the Q&A?
Yeah.
What do you got? You want to talk about how you get abs? Are abs really made in the kitchen, or can you purchase them at Party City? Let's not answer that one.
They are. I mean, that whole made in the kitchen thing is pretty true.
It's valid for sure.
Because if you are not, it's as simple as deficit surplus, right? If you're not in a deficit, if you're not in a caloric deficit, you are not going to get any leaner. So everybody has abs. It's just a matter of getting that body fat off with your caloric deficit to reveal them.
Yeah.
So it's hard to out train or out cardio a surplus of calories. So if you don't know how much you're intaking, then you could possibly or most likely will be at a maintenance or a surplus.
Right.
It's just like freaking highlight. For the past couple of years, I've looked at counting macros a little bit different. Like it's just, there's so many similarities with finance and fitness. Like everything is budgeting. It's like you're just budgeting your damn calories, your macros, right? Like you're not going to go to the mall and just like go shop blindly at how much you're going to check what you have in your bank account or you know, you should. Right. It's the same thing. It's all about budgeting. Like you're not going to spend what you don't have.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Not that one. Talk about how carbs aren't bad for us. So before you hired me, did you think carbs were bad for you?
So I have a story. So before I met you, I would think about dieting as like clean. This was before like I think I ever looked up a YouTube video or like you Google diets online and like the bro diets for like almonds and like chicken and egg whites. And so I would literally carry a bag of almonds, like in a Ziploc bag, with me in the car, and I'd eat these almonds. But as you know, a bag of almonds, like if you have a giant bag of almonds, obviously that's a lot of calories. Like I think 15 grams of almonds is 200 calories, right?
Yeah.
So it was like I was doing that and I had no idea what I was doing, and I would eat 0 carbs and then have egg whites and like lunch meat or chicken. So yes, I had no idea.
You're well over your budget on calories. See, like
for sure,
like almonds, very healthy. A lot of good fats in there. But fat is super calorie dense. You're probably eating all your calories from almonds. I'd rather have you had some M&Ms. Like, go have a pack of M&Ms.
But then I'd go to Starbucks and get like a venti iced coffee back in the day with like 6 pumps and like half and half. And I'd obviously be way over. But back then, like my Fitness Pal wasn't out. None of that stuff was even around. So now you have people like you that are educating the public about carbs, fats, and proteins.
It just blows my mind how basic it is. Like it's so basic. But once, like, if I sat down with somebody new and we were just hanging out and I just explained how basic it is, they'll be like, wow, mind blown. Like, okay, well, it would debunk a bunch of myths.
Right.
So many myths.
For you though, in your head, you think it's basic because that's your everyday thing. Like if you and I were to be talking about real estate and I would be talking about certain things, you would be like, oh, that makes sense. But I didn't know that, even though if in my head, I would think that would be basic.
True.
Right. So it comes from like a different perspective because you live that life.
Yeah.
Where most people, again, I'll use me for an instance. Like I didn't know what I didn't know until I met you, until I tracked things, until I did it properly for a long period of time. And now I can eat intuitively and kind of have a rough idea of where I'd be at. But for most people who have never gone through it, like they're not going to know that.
Yeah. There's a lot of myths that just make fitness just kind of overcomplicates everything, where it scares them. Just like real estate. Like people are just scared to dip into that world because they think there's a lot to it, when really there's a lot to it, but you can simplify it.
Sure. Yeah.
With the right approach.
Of course.
And that's why your content is doing great, because you're simplifying things and just throwing it out there, and people are like, wow, that's it? Okay.
Yeah.
how he explained it. And that's exactly what I do with my content.
Right. For sure.
But the carbs, yeah. So that's like one of the main myths out there, right? Carbs make you fat.
Definitely a big myth.
You can't have carbs after dark. When it gets dark, you're just in fat mode.
I'd be so lethargic if I didn't have any carbs.
Yeah, so you were replacing all your carbs for fat with the almonds. Right? You could have had so much more.
And sugary, like Starbucks drinks, which doesn't make any sense either. But again, that was like before. I mean, I'm sure like the bodybuilding.com days that was probably around that time. That was 2010, 2011. Because I had first got my real estate license back then, and I was living in Palm Springs for like a year. Want to do 2 more and then we'll.
Do you have any good ones?
No. Mine were sexual or inappropriate.
I got one for you from my side. So what is your take? What do you think about crypto and where it's going?
I'm not the person to ask about crypto. It's not something that I ever like understood or know like what the use eventually for it will be. I've definitely traded it, but I looked at that like I was I was gambling. I've just never looked into it enough to care. Like my space is real estate. I understand real estate, and even stocks. Like I get to a point where like even with stocks, like my returns are better with real estate. And so I cost average in on certain stocks that I like, but other than that, I literally don't even open that account and I don't look at it because it's just not what I make, like what I can make the best returns on my money with.
I agree. Yeah, I think real estate is where it's at. And that's one of the main reasons I moved out here, left California. Just looking at properties out there, I was looking to buy, and I was like, oh my, like what I wanted was like minimum 1 million.
I mean, yeah, and then now, especially with rates fluctuating between 6 and 7%, like last year, you weren't really dealing with high interest rate environment either, and now we are.
Even worse.
Yeah, which is crazy too. I don't know if you saw the news today. The Silicon Valley Bank just went under.
No.
So it's called a bank run. So it's when large groups of depositors withdraw their money from banks simultaneously based on fears of institution will become insolvent. So they can't pay off their debts or anything like that. So this bank, it's the 15th largest bank, just tanked. And today their stock was down 69%. Like I look at stuff like that and I'm like, I try to stay optimistically positive in terms of like where our economy is and stuff. But then you see things like that and you're like, ugh, scary. But got to take it day by day.
That was a question. Someone asked, how do you stay so positive day in and day out?
I mean, a big one for me is definitely the audiobooks right now. 100%.
I think you just love learning.
I do.
Right. That's what it is. And I think for a man, there was a good book that I just finished, an audiobook on the Alpha Male Bible. I think you should hit that. I think every male should read it. Like me, I'm confident to say that I just have those alpha male traits since I was a kid, and I kind of just grown them, got them stronger. But I think not everybody is going to have those traits. And this book kind of just identifies all the traits and how alpha male should be and our expectations. It like really opened my mind.
Interesting too. I'll have to check it out.
It's a good one. But I think, yeah, for a male, like what keeps us positive and keeps us happy and just it's purpose. It's building something. We're meant to build something, whether it's a fucking house or a business or wealth. Like as long as you're chasing something and you're building something, I think that's what keeps us going and it keeps you positive.
For sure. I can see that too. I think that's a big part of probably this year too. And now that you said that, as to like a purpose and building something like with my real estate investment stuff and all of that, like I feel like I'm growing something that's far exceeding what I ever expected. And I'm going to look back and I'm going to be like, this is what I built. Right. And I think I agree with you 100%.
That's it. I think that's it. And I got that from that book that I'm telling you about is just that purpose. It's just we're meant as men, we're made to build.
Love that. Cool. That's a good way to end it. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you having me. Thanks, Omar. Appreciate you.